Today on the politics of politics.
You and I were in the trenches fighting guerrilla wars. Now you want to come and...
No, I was in Mabopana. I was never in the trenches.
Minus you.
There was never guerrilla war going on. Neki jama khapu kumabopani.
Lina nekili giane kisatini, to be honest, walking barefooted, playing with bush and whatever. The issue of foreigners is a complex one because our home affairs is corrupt and it has failed even legal foreign. We've made fugitives of not just African foreigners.
Hi everyone, I'm your host Mosioua Lekota and welcome to the Politics of Politics. Our show is about getting into the intricacies of South African politics. We do this in order to inform you so that you can make the right choice when it comes election time and beyond. We do this by holding leaders accountable. We bring them to the studio and have meaningful conversations with them. Conversations that are important in order to take our country forward. And today, we've got Colleen Makhubele, who is the president and founder of a new political party called SARA, South African Rainbow Alliance. I can't wait to have this discussion with Colleen. But next up, my political agenda. My political agenda is a segment of the show. No, wait, that's what the producer wanted me to say. I actually want to say it the way I want to say it. So Jackie scripts me, just so you know. Jackie is the best producer in town. If you want to do a TV show, that's the person you must speak to. Hit her up. Down below, you will see her Instagram picture and everything else. If I were to introduce this myself, I would have said, welcome to my political agenda. This is the part where I get unhinged and no one can do the damn thing about it and no one can fire me. Oh, but maybe they can fire me. That's not the point though. Okay, so this is what I want to talk about today. Jomo Cosmos. I have been a Jomo Cosmos supporter for a very long time. And it dawned on me that I owe you, our viewers, an apology. I'm a hypocrite and I have lied to you. And today I just want to confess because I realized that the things that I've been saying, some of them actually I also do. So I've been supporting Jomo Cosmos for the past 15 years. We are in the ABC Motsepe League, right? And we lose every single game that we play. They don't even televise us anymore. But I'm stuck to Jomo Cosmos. And every year I believe the new excuses. I believe if we change the coach, oh, it'll be better. Oh, maybe it's the captain. If we change the captain, oh, it'll be better. No, let's change the formation this year. Oh, it'll be better. But it never gets better. It never gets better. And I realized that we treat political parties like they're soccer teams. You know what they say? You can change your wife, but you can't change your soccer team. Kusal Pelumoya, Pirates for life, Gawu Yellow for life. Political parties are not for life. They're interested in their own politics and power. That is called hegemony. They are not interested in you. The only person that must be interested in you is you. So, again, I'm asking you, as we come up to the elections, to be an active voter. Do not vote for a political Jomo Cosmos. That's why I say I think I've been a hypocrite, because I've been telling you to change your mind if something doesn't work. But I have a team that has not delivered a single trophy for me, and I'm still supporting it. I'm changing teams. If you've got any suggestions of what team I should support, please put your comments down below. And if you like the new intro, and you want me to stick to it and not check his intro, please put your comment below. Next up, Colleen Makhubele. As promised, we've got Colleen Makhubele in the studio, the executive president of South African Rainbow Alliance. Can't wait to get into the conversation with her. Colleen, welcome.
Thank you, Neo, and my greetings to the listeners and to the viewers.
Absolutely. Executive president.
Yes.
Some people are commander-in-chiefs. Some are the chief apostles. Some are the chief looters. You went for executive president.
Yeah.
Help me with that.
Look, we believe the country needs a different kind of leadership. A person that will understand that when you're at the helm of the country, you're the executive CEO of the country. And you need to have the competence, the merit, the ability to drive this country to a different direction. I think the era of commander-in-chief and all of that is past. It has a lot to do with, post-independence, when people were in the trenches and were fighting guerrilla wars, etc. We are not there anymore. We are not fighting this fictitious white monopoly, imperialism, and the capital, owners of capital. I think it's just a misplaced struggle right now, because we need those captains of industries, those white monopolies to assist us to turn around things, and we can't always be at adverse ends with one another. So executive president means that I'm aware of the executive duties that must be executed financially in people matters, social matters, infrastructure. You have to look at it in that way, because it has all the makings of a company, just on a more complex and bigger scale. You must deal with financial issues. How do you turn around the monetary policies, the fiscal policies? How do you deal with the debt situation? You must look at our people issues. How do we get rid of catered deployment? How do we attract competent people to really man our administration? How do you, even as a executive CEO, get your exco, which is your cabinet, to be competent, get the right people ethically, morally, and with merit there in place. You're looking at your socioeconomic infrastructure, health, education, your economic infrastructure itself. Those are your revenue generators, your ESCOM, Transnet, we've lost SAA, and many others. Those state-owned entities are your departments that are bringing in the revenues and the services to please your customer, which is your citizens. They need to be pleased. And you've got different stakeholders, your global stakeholders, whether it's the Pan-African community, your SADC community, your international community. So the minute you start to look at it in terms of that, it helps you to understand how you do your planning, what needs to be done, what kind of people, what kind of policies, and and you start to organize, instead of being so political such that you lose touch and you think sitting in a presidential seat you're representing ANC and the comrades. No, we have to come out of that mode.
I think this is why SARA Lekota fired you.
That's interesting. Why is that?
Well, there's no way you could be bringing such a new, fresh perspective to a South Africa that actually needs it, to a South Africa that has been battered with corruption, looting, and unemployment, where you've got young people literally committing suicide because they can't find work. So we need serious leaders. There was nothing serious about your former president, Lekota.
Look, with due respect to him and the contribution that he's had to the country in his earlier years and in terms of fighting the independence, I agree with you. The contribution ceased, at a certain point, and people must learn to recognize that, to say, I have served up until this moment. I'm no longer relevant. What do I need to do to either sustain my relevance or affect or impact the next generation so that my legacy lives on and I can see the change and the dreams that we've had for this nation being carried through. And because not just Ntate Lekota, many of the ANC people that are currently in our cabinet are not able to define that moment for themselves, to say, we've entered into a new era right now.
Well, they'll tell you about the Morogoro Conference and Strategy and Tactics and Ready to Govern document that was written in 1905.
Yeah. And I mean, you take it to now, material conditions have changed since 1905. Obvious one is that we are now a liberated country, right? Second to that is that globalization has happened. Third, we've had even COVID, technology and other things have happened. So there's just so many things that have made that document, even the Freedom Charter itself, at some point it needs to be re-looked at. Is it still relevant that young people today do they identify with the struggle for land, with this fight for Africanism? And, I think there are some outdated ideas that really the struggle for young people now is how do they access opportunities, become relevant in this current era with their counterparts globally. How do these doctors that have studied so much for 5-6 years they're sitting at home. What are they going to do with land? You give them land, they can't even build a house, they can't even put services on it. They need an opportunity to add value. They want to feel part of what is happening with their community in South Africa, the African community, the global community. So a lot of things are out of touch. I'm not saying land is not important, but it's just not a critical need for me and for many young people right now. What we're looking for is a country that provides opportunities, provides jobs. It's an economy that works. We want a country that is strong domestically. We want entrepreneurs to thrive. We want to be respected globally. Not to be raped on the street, the crime.
You know what's jarring for me? So I've listened to a lot of your interviews, and we're going to get... Where we should have started is to talk about SARA.
But we'll get there. We'll get there.
In fact, what you are talking about now, you are actually expanding on it. So that's fine. So I'll tell you what's jarring for me. I've always had one issue against you. And it's a serious issue. It's not even on a joking level. Right? So I like how you explain the country as a company, right? And if I were to ask you, would you, if you had a company and Makhubele Inc. was worth 77 billion, right? Would you give it to Thapelo Ahmad or Ekabelo Kwamanda? Because I happen to be a resident of city of Joburg. The perception that I have is that you had quite a big influence in terms of removing Mpopalatse, the hundreds of motions of no confidence, court, that whatever the case is. You were the one solid thing that stood between, that put that coalition, that actually had everyone together. But why did you give me Thapelo Ahmad?
I get asked that question a lot. And
I think after we get out of this, I'm going to say, okay, cool, we can go.
Yes. No, it's quite important that we explain this. I would never give it to Thapelo Ahmad, and the coalition partners know that, and I'm saying it knowing that they're going to hear this and affirm it, or we had big fights around number one Thapelo Ahmad, even Kwamande. I was racing for the mayorship as well, because I understood that you can't remove a woman of a caliber of Mpopalatse. And whom I respect a lot, and she had good qualities and skills. It's just that she happened.
It didn't come across.
No,
it
won't,
you guys
because now we're
like
fighting
proper.
No, now we're fighting political ideologies and political battle.
There were accusations about bags and notes and. No, it got ugly. It got like proper ugly.
It got to be a women's fight.
It got to be a women's fight.
Yes. Like, and that's regrettable. But look, the idea was to fight what the DA was bringing to the table. And it's unfortunate that she was representing that institution.
So it was not personal.
No, it was not personal. Even when I met her, and that's what we do as politicians. But we can't remove somebody like that. And you put somebody who of a lesser caliber, no merit, no track record of anything. But because you're a one-seat party, and that's the issue that I have with these coalitions, that look at the number of seats versus the value of what a person brings to this collective. You're a one-seat party. You don't have much influence in terms of who goes where. And it became a fight of EFF and ANC, by the way, where EFF wants whoever they can control ANC, because nobody wants a strong black woman in power. And that's how I became hated, because then even now, some of them, you don't know behind the scenes. We don't talk because of that. And if you go back even to the publications, I stood to say, I'm available, I want to run, because I understand what I bring to the table. Besides the fact that I'm a woman who brings different qualities, qualified, right? Studied overseas computer
you're not
science.
Qualified. You are very qualified.
Well, thank you.
Let's
Thank
put it into context.
But nobody wants that in the South African politics, because then you are not able to control Colleen, right? You can't tell Colleen to go and sign a shady deal or do that, because first and foremost, I must protect my own reputation, integrity, and clean governance, which I stand for. Even as a speaker, how I held the executive to account, I was not liked. Some were even happy to see me go, because you call them out, you tell them which line to toe, and they don't like that, because people are not used to politics that are honest, that are clean. They are used to, hey, all of us are in this together. Sure. They are swimming together. So yes, I would not have put them in there. Even now, my relationship with Kwamande Tabelo is so strained. We don't even talk, unlike maybe what I have with Palazzo. Because of that I didn't agree with. That's why the ANC, I don't like the ANC for that. You can't put the worst of you in leadership.
Absolutely.
No, it's an insult to the people of Joburg.
Absolutely.
And you know, how do you get led by somebody who does not even have metric and there's a shady character?
Of 77 billion.
No, you can't. You can't. This person has no track record of anything.
He's never run his pasta shop.
But it goes back, you know what we need to do with our voters? We need serious voter education. When you go out and vote for somebody that wants to be a councillor, no matter how much they buy you, and they buy you groceries or food or feed you, you must understand what you're voting for. And that's why I call myself executive president. Because the councillor that you're voting has a potential to be your mayor. Is this the person that can... Because all 270 councillors basically in council, what we're saying is that can become a mayor, even as all whatever, 300, 400, when we get to the National Assembly, we have a potential. Yes. So are you really voting for somebody that you think this person can be my president? We have to think around that. And what is I want to ask you, what is SARA bringing to the political spectrum? But before that, I want to ask you, where did it go bad between you and Cope? It went bad when I raised my hand to be the president of SARA.
Okay.
Lekota wanted to lead SARA.
Okay.
And he was hoping that the alliance partners would choose him.
Yes.
When I was elected, I think he still hoped something would happen. I know there were negotiations behind my back. Of course, it's all men, etc. But I think when it hit home was when the posters started to come out. Because up until the day I was fired, I didn't know what was happening. I was still talking to the president as I did. I was at his house. It's the Sunday before Monday. We're going to have a meeting on Monday to discuss how we're going to roll out the voter registration strategy, etc. And bam, there I was fired, and for no reason at all. We never had any differences, etc. But it's an issue of African leaders, women leaders being given opportunity. And it happens everywhere. You look at Popala, she raised her hand to be the leader of DA. Where is she now?
Yes.
She's had to really quit politics, whether you want to put it in that way or not.
You're right. I mean,
you look at Lindy Wesisulu, she raised her hand. Where is she now? We can hardly talk about Lindy Wesisulu.
But Lindy Wesisulu was not competent though anyway.
Either way, I'm just giving a track record of where women are who raised their hands to be in leadership. Even Nkosazana Zuma, we may debate around it. Where is she now? She's retiring. Because it's around men who feel they have to be satisfied first before they can bring a woman. And we're not about to be waiting in the queue.
It's a favor to bring a woman in, right?
And we're tired of waiting in there. When are they going to be satisfied? When is Lekota going to be satisfied of having been a president for almost 15 years with no democratic processes in the party, always manipulating everything to remain in that power? No, it can't happen. You know, really we have to start to come to a place where African leaders must learn to understand, as I said, where do I start, where do I stop with dignity, hand over, play and advisory roles, guide and all of that. Because I had wanted It was my sincere desire. That's why we made Mosioua Lekota the President Emeritus, to guide, to still live out his legacy. I mean, when we were starting SARA, he went as far as saying, it's in the footage, he went as far as saying, if this SARA can work, you know, I will go to my graveyard and rest in peace, because I would know that we have managed to create an alternative that can carry the aspirations and the dreams of not just me, those that I was with in the struggle. Some died, we don't know where their remains are, paid the ultimate sacrifice, some spent time in jail, some of the veterans, you know, they're walking around naked.
Languishing on the street,
it would have carried that for him and for many other. But when it came to me, I must be, and this is where the problem is. And that's where it fell apart.
And I suppose that's the issue with coalitions, and we'll get into it. So for someone who's watching and they're like, okay, SARA, if you're in Joburg, you see a lot of posters, but I know that you've got a national footprint, you're not a Joburg party. What is SARA hoping to bring? What does SARA stand for, especially in the context of where our country is at the moment?
Look, I think we've reached a point where when we select our leaders, we can't overlook the issue of character, moral clarity, and competence. And this is what SARA wants to bring to the table. First, it will be the competent leadership that you'll be able to interrogate, that you'll be able to test and see their qualifications, experience with track record. People who have something to lose, because right now we've got all sorts of idiots that have nothing to lose in positions of power. Therefore, they can do whatever they want to do. Second, we're bringing policies. That's what I really want to dig into. We want to bring the gear that President Mbeki had 96 to 2007, where the policies that worked to move this country forward in terms of economic growth, creating employment, attracting investments.
Fight with the unions.
And no, I'm ready, because
remember they hated
I'm ready. No, they will hate me too, because this country cannot be run by unions. And this is where our issue is. SACP is not a governing party. And we cannot afford to have them lead us into a socialist path that is not adding value to where we were. That's why we've got so much joblessness, because the policies that were introduced 2008 up until now, they are leaning to the socialist era, where we have killed self-reliant citizens, we have killed business. It's consumption-based, it's people relying on grants. It works for the ANC to have panyas, almost 20,000 people employed by state with no job description, just because you want them to be dependent on that 5,000, 6,000 for the state so that they vote for you. That's nonsense. We are killing the country. It works for the state to create something like NHI. What for? So that you can then consolidate all the state money and kill all private sector, because the hatred of private sector in this country, it's appalling. We are going back to where most African countries have ended up. The reason this country is still working is the strength of the private sector. I don't care what names you want to call them. If not for the private sector, we don't have a government.
I read a stat that I think it's at 83% of all jobs created are created by the private sector.
By the private sector. But we are not supporting the private sector, and they can do more. Because private sector, as we sit, they are sitting with over 600 billion that could be invested in cash, liquid cash, but they won't invest in this country. Why? Because we've adopted policies that are anti-business. We are hampering and hindering them, killing them with labor regulations, union demands that are unsustainable, taxes that are so high that are unsustainable for them. We are not willing to make this economy a 24/7 economy that can work, because we compete with global economies and metros like New York, you know, in Tokyo, and you know, these are 24/7 economies. You introduce a 24/7 economy, already you've slashed in half the unemployment rate.
Marakere Cyril is building a smart city.
Cyril like fantasies. What smart city? I mean, honestly, can he first then just finalize the state capture facade that is done there? Can we sort out Pala first? You know, there was a train of some sort that he dreamt about. Nothing of what Cyril has said. When the minute we realized that Cyril has been a scam for this country, and all of us were scammed by the New Dawn, there's nothing coming out of Cyril except for the policies of SACP that are being implemented. But going back to our new gear, we have revised the new gear because material conditions have changed. When the gear was at its peak, working. We're alive with new possibilities. If you remember,
we had a Minister of Finance, I think it was Trevor Manuel at the time, who could stand up and we had a budget surplus.
Thank you, because their policies made sure that we don't fall into the debt trap, As we sit right now, we're fallen into this debt trap. They are borrowing like crazy. We pay 1 billion rand each day, every day in servicing this debt. More than what we pay to fix schools on education.
And not just interest. It's not even touching just the capital interest. Of the debt.
Out of the 1 rand that we receive as a country in terms of revenue, 40 cents will go to public sector salaries.
Yeah.
And people that you don't know what they're doing, that are rude to me and you every day, they don't want to work, the service is poor, they couldn't care less. The richest people in this country are public servants, by the way, because they're able to manipulate everything and tenders, etc.
Procurement systems.
20 cents goes to servicing debts, unsustainable. And the last 20 cents is what we hope is going to give us services. Out of, we've got 800 billion of a procurement budget as a country every year for various services. Do you know that National Treasury has reported that 30 to 40% of that is wasted? They don't even know how to track it. Irregular expenditure, inflated prices, what we call will be transformation procurement, but it never happens. You can't account for it. That's almost 300 billion a year. So we have to change those kind of things. The fiscal policies, the monetary policies, the policies that are business friendly, that's what we want to improve. SMMEs that could be creating jobs easily for us. We want to deregularize, remove all this heavy burden of the labor relations, the basic salary that they must pay to their workers. That's why they are employing foreigners.
There's a risk of people being exploited.
Look, there are 2 risks that we are facing. Already, foreigners are being exploited and our people are denied opportunities. We have to be practical in the direction that we're going to choose.
The foreigners, Gaten is going to kick all of them out, right?
Gating is dreaming because, this issue of foreigners, and we'll tell you about our foreign policies, it's more complex than making rhetorics, all the time to sensationalize people and tickle them if you think it's in the right direction. The issue of foreigners is a complex one because our home affairs is corrupt and it has failed even legal foreign. We've made fugitives of not just African foreigners, whether it's Asians or Americans and Europeans, etc., because our systems have failed to process them and document them correctly. So the minute we can't even identify which foreigner came in correctly, and we've spoken to somebody who was even a professor at one of the most reputable universities here in Joburg, from Vietnam, This professor came here. He was lecturing on one of the scientists and all of that, the high-end courses that we don't have the skills. 10 years he's been in this country, supposed to be processed. He can't. Paid everybody under the sun that he's supposed to pay. Nothing has happened. He's married here with children. Some of his children now, they're, old. So you're saying Abahambe.
This is home for them.
Abahambe. So he must leave here, leave his wife and children because of the inefficiencies and corruption of home affairs. That's just but one example. So there are foreigners that have come in here illegally, but you will never identify them if you're not able to put your house in order first in terms of your borders, your home affairs. We are for the rule of law, but let's apply it correctly. Once you know who are the illegal, we'll be the first one to put them in the bus and say go. But where we have failed, good people that are adding value to this country, we must process them. Look, you and I sitting here, you can hardly identify what is South African here. We are in a global economy. We are not a producing company. We import everything. So the issue of foreigners goes beyond chasing out people. It's about how do we integrate globally as well? What are we getting? What are we giving to the global economy? We can't even export quality people overseas. That's how poor we are in terms of some of our processes and education. So when foreign nationals are able to be processed and accepted,
when you're making kids do mass literacy.
Certainly. Numeracy literacy has gone down. So even the type of people that we have to teach, you would want a Zimbabwean to come and teach your children math and science than a South African teacher. I'll be honest with you.
And you won't be happy with you, eh?
No, she doesn't have to be because she's failed this country in terms of what is introduced in the system for education, this outcome-based, and now they want to put another bill that must teach our children sex education at the age of 5. It's appalling what NG has done to education.
Well, I suppose they could defend that to say it's not just sex education, it also speaks to sexuality. They say sexuality, they say it's not sex, they say sexuality, because there's different genders on the spectrum. And
why must we teach 5-year-olds that at school? Why must we do that? It's not necessary. Kids all over the world, from first world to third world countries, they're competing on STEM. They're competing on what matters, what pushes them forward in life. They're competing on arts. They're competing on things chemistry and stuff, and they're movie houses doing great creative stuff. We want to teach them how to be gay. If they choose that path, it's fine for them. We're not fighting that. But I don't want my children to go to school to be taught sex and gay. They're too young to process those things.
Well, they're not being taught to be gay. You are born gay or you're not.
And I don't believe that. And that's debatable. So we are against that policy. We are saying we are opposing it actually as SARA. We are going to the hearing on Friday in Uncle Tom's in Soweto. We are opposing it. Number one, on moral value. Number one, on scientific and research value. Children at that age, they have not even developed enough. Their frontal lobe that develops their critical analysis, cognitive, etc., has not developed enough to be able to process this. We should be teaching them numeracy, literacy, read to learn, and read for understanding, so that we develop them to be able to compete globally and here and get jobs.
You're going to ostracize your entire LGBTQI plus community that would have voted for you.
Look, if they feel that way, I'm going to explain. They're even part of our alliance, by the way. We've got people that are part of SARA, but they know our policy position. I will not allow it to be imposed in schools. We respect them constitutionally. They have space. We understand where they are. Everybody has the choice to be where they are. But I'm against imposing it to our children. I don't take my children to school to be taught that. I take my children to school to be taught things, concrete knowledge, critical analysis that is going to push them forward in life. The other choices that they might make, it's fine. They can make those choices and we'll deal with them. But don't push your moral view of the world onto this. South Africa it's very fragile. Our education system needs to be jacked up to be able to look at what is critically important for us to produce
very, very strong, brave policies, and you're not shy to communicate them. It's interesting. I mean, one of the policies that you have articulated before is men getting unemployed, single men getting grants.
Yes, and they
Tell me about that.
Look, the highest unemployment rate is around men in South Africa, according to research. It may have changed. Even the highest suicide rate is amongst men, because a lot of policies, they favor us women, and I'm pro-women. I'm for women empowerment. I've got a Girls Can Do Anything Foundation as well. But I'm against imbalance, because if we create an imbalance here, it's going to take the next generation to try and correct that imbalance. I want the same opportunity. And I'm a mother of boys, you know, and I've got a lot of people that are also mother of girls. The same opportunities that we afford to our young ladies, that we afford to our young boys. Let's afford it to the same. But let's not choose according to gender who must get it. You know,
well,
we've got enough policies.
But the idea is that men have benefited for all these years and they've got privilege, and that's in the center spectrum of the feminist ideology. It's the privilege that men has had over time, and we can actually prove it. We can actually see it. On the more radical spectrum is that men are all trash anyway.
I'm trying to fight that. Men cannot be trash. Otherwise, we are not complementing this society, and we're not building families. We are breaking down family structures, and we're going to end up with the same issue that apartheid brought to us when they started to break down family structure. Because now you've got these strong women that are standing alone. Policies afford us to do what we do. I've benefited a lot from women empowerment policies as well, you know, and they're great and we want them to continue. But I'm saying don't leave men behind, because what you're creating...
Especially young men, right?
Especially young men, because they tend to drugs, they tend to crime, And there's GBV has been proven as well because of the frustration of men, and I'm not condoning it.
No,
I'm
sure.
saying where there's an opportunity, social justice demands that we help anyone that is in need. If you're a single unemployed man looking after children, for whatever reason that you're unemployed, maybe even your spouse is unemployed, or you don't have a spouse, deceased or incapable of looking after children, you don't have to go and beg to your parents or friends or commit suicide or leave these children with your grandparents or whatever in the villages, what is happening. Those children are very important to us because they're growing up neglected.
As a man, my pride will not allow me to stand on a queue to get 350.
Look, I'm not really interested in your pride. I'm interested in the children that you carry, because this grant is for child care. And if you are not able to accept it, if you are able to queue for 350 rands and you don't want to queue to feed your children, I don't think you're a man. Then you don't deserve our assistance as SARA. But we're interested to make sure that the children that have a single father, who's unemployed, must receive, they must get a chance in life. We've got a social responsibility towards them, and we want to, and it's the other one that we talk about. Of course, I moved away from our gear, which is growth, employment, creating employment, jobs. We know the way that is. Yes. Accountable leadership is the AR is redistribution. That's where the policies of the unemployed grants fall into. To say if our gear does not create jobs, and we know it will create jobs and turn around the situation, we are willing to give grants, but not 350. It's an insult for unemployed graduates to go queue for 350. We must give them then the basic income grant, of 3,500. Doctors must even get more than that because we have failed them in the system.
And I suppose if you grow the economy, you are able to do that because more people are working, so it's less people that are receiving those grants. So
and the scale, when President Mbeki was implementing GEAR, out of 100 people that were working, we're giving about, out of 353 people that were working, it was 100 grants. Now, out of 53 people that are working, we're still giving 100 grants. It's unsustainable. We have to create jobs. And if you turn around this economy quickly, which will not take us 3 months in office to do, by introducing the policies that we are saying, cut down tax, allow business to flourish, let's move away from these socialist policies. Even China, even Russia, which pushes social policies, they know where to push them in terms of redistribution. But where it matters most, the economy, therefore business-friendly economies. But we want to cut and paste ththings that have not worked. The whole of Africa has collapsed because of those things. We can't afford to do it as a country. We're still stuck in the
Soviet era, right?
We're stuck,
USSR.
Things that, ideologies and
Marxism.
practical things, debates that add no value. You can't point to a country. Look at even Venezuela, how they have collapsed with that. Vietnam is struggling with it. There is no country that has a socialist policy that you can point to and say it has worked. And I'm saying China itself, which we're leaning to, they're funding us, and Russia, they're implementing policies that are market friendly, that our investors can relate to.
For you as SARA to grow that economy, you need to fix ESCOM, you need to fix Transnet, and I'm using those as a proxy for all state-owned enterprises. What's your plan there? What do you think needs to happen?
We have to privatize. We can't do it on our own. We have to get private partners. And even when I was a chairperson of South African Post Office, which has collapsed, if you go back, I was pushing public-private partnership. And we called it revenue sharing partnerships at the time. There's no way you can even turn around post office without that. And there were private companies that were willing to say, we'll share profit with the post office, we'll retain the jobs, give us give us the infrastructure, we'll put in our own money, we'll make it competitive, turn it around, it will compete with DHL.
Do you think Mark was serious about that? I'm deviating here, sorry.
Look, there was a portion, and I've met Mark Barnes, a portion of his version that is truth there, where he talks about where he could turn around. But I think there's a lot of fluff and arrogance there as well. But you take that away, there's an idea that could have been exploited and expanded. But, and this is one of SARA's policies as well, let's take away race, non-racial policies. Because you look at Mark Barnes, immediately say, this white guy. And we lose value out of that. That's what we did with experts in ESCOM, Transnet, etc. We threw away the white guys, the Afrikaners, and said, in the name of transformation, we want to bring all blacks. It doesn't work.
And it works if you bring competent blacks.
If you bring competent,
but then if you bring
but then you
cadres,
lose institutional memory as well. There has to be some balance. You know, these are people that have been building those power stations for years, while you and I were in the trenches fighting guerrilla wars. Now you want to come
No, I was in Mabopana. I was never in the trenches.
Minus you.
There was never a guerrilla war going on. Neki jama khapu kuma bopani.
Lina nekili giane kisati to be honest, walking barefooted, playing with bush and whatever. But hypothetically,
Sure.
I'm saying we threw away institutional memories and critical skills in the name of transformation and shouldn't have done it in that manner. And we need to bring some of those people back to assist us. I'm for transformation, but let it be done in a responsible manner, not to benefit the cadres and the BE that we have that is structured the way it is at the moment.
It's beneficial. It's benefiting Edwin Sodi.
And his girlfriends. He's got a house of 75 million rand there, you know, while our single men are committing suicide every day.
And I think that's the point that you are making.
That's
right?
the point I'm making. It has created a huge inequality amongst us. You know, the senior ANC politicians and the, I don't know, 18, 20 million people on the ground, there's a huge gap of inequality in terms
but
of
it's caused
lifestyle.
by white people.
How so?
White monopoly capital.
You know, this white monopoly capital, yeah, it's a problem.
And I'm mentioning it frivolously, but I think it's an important point. It's an important point because when you speak to a lot of even young people, the story that they hear a lot, and again we spoke about off camera about the benefits of incumbency and the media airtime they get. The idea is that all the wealth is sitting in white people's hands. The reason why they are not able to find jobs or able to build companies is because white people are still holding all that money, and white people are controlling Cyril, they're controlling everyone who criticizes the ANC. And the ANC is a victim in all of this thing. I mean, that's why you've got MK Party that's trying to zoom on to come back again and fix, because they're just victims. There's nothing that they can do.
No, certainly. There you're correct. And there's a point that I want to add before but let me raise this first.
Sure.
You know, one of my greatest nightmares that I have with what is happening right now, bringing in the MK Act and whoever else is out there, we have a situation that can become so real, and it's a nightmare. We're going to end up with a parliament, and that's if young people don't rise up. That if people still maintain this apathy towards voting and, you know, don't know who to vote, We're going to end up with a parliament that has Zuma in it, whether I can contest or not, or Zuma representative. No. It is going to have a Colleen House. We're going to have Julius Malema. We're going to have Ace Mahashula. We're going to have Mkhwebana. We're going to have all these disgruntled people settling scores with Cyril Ramaphosa or the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa. For the next 5 years. We cannot afford to do that. And if the voters don't see that and go out there and make a mark, I don't care where you want to place it. There's so many, this emotional, so many people, we don't know what to vote for. Please shut up and go and vote. Choose one. You know, you've got the United States that has 2 parties and people are looking for alternatives. Here you are, you've got a plethora to say, look, I can go to SARA, I can go to this party, I can go to that party. Just make up your mind, do something. If you leave it to your grandmothers and grandparents who are swayed by grants and aunties and all of that in the villages and outskirts, they're going to vote the same government that you have now, that you did not vote for, that you are complaining about every day. And that's why I say you complain for something that you did not even order. There are people that ordered that government are enjoying it. They are getting their grants. They are getting their 350. Sure. When now you are too sophisticated, too smart, too clever, black, you don't want to vote, you've got too many questions, I can't. They are going to give you another government that you don't want. So go and just make your mark on the alternative that you think it cannot meet all your needs. It's impossible that I can meet all your needs. But if I'm close to your needs, let's do that. Let's make sure that we break down this elephant that we don't want. The ANC government has just served its purpose. We appreciate the journey that they've taken us up to 1994. I think they've run out of steam, run out of ideas, run out of money, run out of leaders. It's time now for us to emerge In our numbers, it's okay. We'll consolidate, but let the young leadership. And the reason we're emerging as different parties, they won't give us space there. You think if they gave me space in ANC to lead, I will be here? No. It's closed. It's like that. So we found our own space. Appreciate us for what we have done. Maybe 300-400 of us, it's okay. Vote for the one that you want.
And if people want to join SARA or find out more about the policies for SARA, where do they go?
We've got our social media, of course, platforms that are there. SARA Politics. If you go and Google SARA Politics, is there. And the website as well, which was down, being updated with content now, and our policies should be up again. But you can find us there, and we're always in the social media, and even the contact details are there.
And I mean, there's a lot of young people that would want to, because what we need in South Africa, I think, is also the culture of volunteering.
Yes.
You see it a lot in the States where people are saying, I support this candidate, I am a website designer, I will give you my services for free.
Yeah.
Or someone saying, I support this party, I'm a digital marketing expert, I can, syndicate the message to 4 million people every day. I know how to do it, and I don't need to be paid for it because I believe in the vision. And I think that is the culture that we do not have in the country, where people actually volunteer.
Look, I think it's beginning to develop, because I must give credit to the kind of people that we have in SARA. They are volunteers. They are volunteers, all of them, because we don't have the funding. We don't have the 15 million yet, and we're looking for it to pay them. We are looking for it, and if they're out there listening, we are also a party to invest in.
Wink.
Wink, wink. We are a party to invest in, because Black people are not investing in political change, So we've got a lot of volunteers. Our website is done by volunteers. Our social media is volunteers. We've got unemployed graduates that have come in. They're on the ground every day. If you see anyone on the ground in SARA, there's no one who's getting paid in SARA. Amazing. And we've done so much with volunteers because they believe in the vision, And we just don't have a lot of those, because they've been spoiled. ANC has done damage in this country. A lot of people, especially these old comrades and people that have been in politics, they are so used to being bought, money, what's in it for me? Nay, I can't do this for free, you must feed me, you must do that. They don't have the issue, the spirit of volunteerism and really patriotism, etc. It's a mess, the moral values that have been so decayed.
And from a funding standpoint, I think, you mentioned the point about Black business not coming to the party. But at the same time, when white business come to the party, then that gets weaponized.
And it's so wrong. It's so wrong. And I maintain anyone who orders and pays will have an agenda of why they're doing it.
Sure,
so if you don't like the white agenda, instead of criticizing it, then put your money where your mouth is, and then drive the agenda that you are looking for. I appreciate the patriotism of some of these white companies that are funding. For whatever reason, good or bad, they are assisting to drive political change. A lot of us sit around our braai areas or our corners, ladies in our get-togethers. We complain about the government, but you only put 10 rands. And we're not asking for much. You put 100 rand, you put 100 rand. Before you know it, we've got 10,000 rands, and we're moving, Absolutely. But, people just don't understand what that contribution makes to the agenda. And if I had your support as Black business, Black affluent, even ordinary men on the street that funded Obama, it was ordinary people that gave ordinary people in masses. But Black South Africans want to fund a politician because they can get a tender, and that politician is going to take that money, give it to his girlfriend, 500,000 every month. That's the money that should be driving change. But they won't drive the change. And also, very important, they are paralyzed by fear of the ANC, because they are being victimized, most of them. Even when they fund us, some of them have come to the party to say, no, take this, do that, but please don't mention
my name.
We do it below the IEC requirement. Hey, these people are going to victimize me. The next thing, I won't get jobs, etc. Because ANC has become this monster that victimizes anyone and anything that has an opposing view. They are killing the spirit of democracy in this country. It's a multi-party system, and we sympathize with them. Of course, they must also think about how they feed their children and grow their businesses.
But what you're saying is that at the end of the day, look, I think what South Africans need to understand is that democracy is expensive.
very, very expensive to run a campaign. My goodness, I mean, I'm going broke sitting here if I'm not already broke. It's serious, and it also talks to why a lot of women also are not in this space. I've also found that funders find it difficult to fund a woman. They'll rather fund a man, even however empty. I mean, compare myself to Mashaba. Sure. Why would Mashaba get funding and I don't get funding? The qualities and the experience, the competence that I bring to the table is chalk and cheese. But because I'm a woman, you know, I have to first break that hurdle, you know, and sometimes to my detriment, because I can't go to the cognac and cigar meetings every night. I've got a family, I've got children. By all means, they will...
I'll be your friend.
Thank you. Perhaps that's what I need. But for me, you know, I've got certain restrictions as well, you know, that sometimes I won't be able to meet with you at this certain time because I must be taking my children to school. Absolutely. I must be making sure homework is done. At the same time, think about how I, you know, campaign, how I run the country, etc. So the woman factor, without really bringing in victim of feminism, etc., it's just real, and I'm experiencing it on a daily basis.
And we appreciate the fact that you know, you are there, you're speaking very boldly, you articulating the policies. As I was saying, we're saying, you know, in our show, we've never had a leader of a woman leader of a political party, and I'm quite glad that we had you here.
Thank you.
Colleen, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you,
we've ran out of time.
Oh yeah.
But we should do this again.
Thank you. I'll be willing to.
I think
this was good.
What we want to do is, especially given how close we are to the 29th of May from an election standpoint, I think there's still kind of, as the campaigning happens and all the messaging, we want to give everyone a platform. And with a view, obviously, to inform, especially the young people, to say, look, here are the options that you could look at. So thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was Colleen Makhubele, the Executive President of South African Rainbow Alliance. Very fiery discussion. I think a few people are going to want to cancel her today. But she's very brave. And please go visit the SARA website. Look out for them in the social media, in their social media pages. They're quite open. If you want to volunteer to help them and you've got a particular skill, feel free to reach out to them. They're very approachable. From me, I've got one message for you. You may not be interested in politics, but politics is always interested in you. Till next time.